What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Hustle or Stay Basic channel, the Invest or Stay Basic segment. I'm your host, KG, at KG the Hustler on Instagram. It's been a while since I put out a video. Hair is going wild, so I'm going to keep on a hat, by the way. I think it's a 2-year anniversary of the Raptors winning championship, so to all my Canadians, go Raptors. But I'm just working down my list. I think on my last video I said I'm going to pump out 3 videos a week. I have pumped out 0 videos in the last 2 weeks. Just been super busy, but that's all going to change. So today I'm just working down that list. We're going to take a look at a company that one of you viewers have requested, share the list that I'm working down. And if you want me to take a look at a company, drop a comment. And if you enjoy this video or learn something, like the video, subscribe, let me know, give me some feedback. So let's get into this stock analysis. So today we are taking a look at the NFI Group, ticker symbol NFI, trading for $25.39 Canadian with a market cap of $1.8 billion. NFI is a bus manufacturer leading the ZEvolution. ZE stands for zero emissions, so you can kind of get an understanding of where they're going, zero emissions buses. They offer a 3.21% dividend, and they are down pretty big over the last 5 years, down 35%. You can see here as well. So as always, in all my videos, we're going to take a look at what the company does, its revenue streams, some tailwinds, some headwinds, some key takeaways from some investor presentations, and my final thoughts. Once again, if you enjoyed this content, please like the video, please share it with a friend, and subscribe. Okay, so I got this blurb here from Yahoo Finance on what they do. You can see that they manufacture and sell buses in North America, United Kingdom, Europe, Asian Pacific, and they are providing zero emission vehicles, battery electric, hydrogen fuel cells, and they were formerly known as the New Flyer Industries. Changed its name in May 2018. This next slide will give you an idea of the type of products that they make. So obviously I stole this from the investor presentation, but you can see they got the New Flyer buses, North American market leader in heavy duty transit, North American market leader in motor coaches, UK market leader in bus and coaches and double-decker buses, and they also have their own parts division, NFI Parts, where they're the market leader in bus and coach parts. So, of course, investor presentation, they're going to be like market leader in everything, but they are top in their industry. Their vision is to enable the future of mobility with innovative and sustainable solutions. I like the sound of that. So let's go take a look at their sales. So annually, we can take a look. We see we are consistently over $2 billion of sales, which sounds good. And if you think about $1.8 billion market cap and consistently over $2 billion in sales, that kind of makes you scratch your head like, what are they doing wrong? Well, if you're a shareholder, you get shareholder value through earnings, and the earnings have been continuously sliding actually into the negative area. Hence the share price has dropped by 35%. Just want to remind you, it's through earnings that shareholders get rewarded, whether it's dividends or share buybacks. So negative earnings is not a good thing. Okay, so let's go take a look at the revenue streams. So they're definitely a huge player in North America. 82% of their revenue comes from North America. Second biggest segment is United Kingdom and Europe. Majority of the revenue is through transit. Second is aftermarket parts. So that's like the NFI Parts division. And then third is motor coach. And I'm not going to get into the other ones, but those are the divisions that they get their revenue or sales from. Okay, so you have an idea of what the company does, its sales, different revenue streams. And now I want to go into their investor presentation that I watched and my key takeaways. So the big thing that the CEO kept highlighting is countries are now all in on zero emissions, which is perfect for the NFI Group. And they shared this slide here, which I clearly stole off the investor presentations. But, Canada, $14.9 billion in transit funding. There's that proposed $2.3 trillion bill by Biden. And also the UK, we have 5 billion euros in transit and cycling funding program. So he's saying, hey, look, man, all these countries are going to need zero emission buses. They're going to come to us. The CEO is so excited with all this funding, put together this slide, or I guess their team put together this slide saying that they're going to grow sales from their 2.4 billion they did in 2020 to 3.9 billion to 4.1 billion in 2025. So essentially almost double their sales in 5 years. That can get a shareholder pretty excited. But how are they going to do this? Well, number one, he says, hey, government support. Obviously, I just mentioned that in the last slide. And second thing is he says UK buses are getting old, like real old, 15 to 20 years old. And he shows this graph here where UK used to buy a lot of buses and then they stopped. And now he thinks there's going to be another super cycle. Maybe super cycle is not the word, but another cycle of buses being bought. And why not come to the NFI Group? Another thing the CEO mentioned is he wants NFI Group to be more than just a bus seller. They want to be there for that whole customer life cycle. I'm not too sure how they're going to do that, but he just says they want to be there in support, partnerships, set up long-term contracts. Okay, so let's talk about the tailwinds. And obviously tailwinds are good things for the company up ahead. Number one is they're consistently busy. They consistently have a backlog of work to do. I mean, you can look at as good or bad, like, hey, why do you have a backlog? Are you guys slow at your processes, or you can't manage your processes? But either way, I'm going to chalk this up as a good thing. I mean, having work means you have sales in the backlog, so that's good. Second thing is he mentioned that politicians are preferring buses over light rail because any light rail project goes way over budget and is always late. So they're saying, buses are not over budget. I don't know if on time since they have this backlog, but anyways, that's a tailwind. And he says there's also pent-up demand for travel. Teenagers going to university, sporting events. I mean, everyone going to sporting events. People want to travel. And he's saying that will be a tailwind for NFI Group. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention that there are a lot of opportunities for them to bid on new projects due to the zero emission forecast. And I think that's what he's saying when he said they're going to go from 2.4 billion to 4 billion over the next 5 years. He says there's a lot more projects. So that's a great tailwind as well. So before you get all excited and go buy the stock, I think you need to look at both sides of the coin. And I particularly like spending time thinking of all the things that could go wrong and all the headwinds a company might face. So I put together a list for you guys. So number one, I got this chart here of North American ridership. That was collected by the American Public Transport Association, and it has been trending down. You can see this 97 million figure in 2011, and 2019 it's 81 million. That's pre-pandemic. So you guys remember their biggest revenue stream by geography is North America, and ridership is trending downwards. So that is not good. Now, what I think is going to accelerate that trend downwards is this shift to work from home. Many might not commute as much as they used to, and there might be lower demand for buses even. So that's definitely going to affect their sales. Third one, and this is a big one, is the CEO mentions that, hey, zero emissions will be great for the company in terms of manufacturing buses, but it will be bad in terms of their aftermarket parts or their parts business. There's not much parts involved in zero emissions, and that's actually really bad for NFI Group because that makes up 20% of their revenue. And he essentially alluded to, hey, our parts division might just kind of be a afterthought, so it might dissolve, who knows. So that's not good. That's 20% of your sales right there. And then also motor coach industry is dying, and that's another 15% of your revenue. So you kind of alluded to, hey, 35% of our revenue might not be there in like 5 years, but we're banking on our production of buses to kind of make up for that and more, which I think is pretty optimistic. And lastly, I mentioned in the previous slide that the UK buses are getting old, and I feel like this company might be banking a lot on UK growth over the next 5 years, hence a lot of buses being purchased from the UK, from the NFI Group. So I don't know, I just, you look at the pro that, hey, there might be some buses being purchased from UK, but then there's also the cons, like how many buses are really going to be purchased, and are you banking a little too much on growth from that area? So I got a bunch of my final thoughts here. And the first one is, $1.8 billion market cap with $4 billion sales in 2025. Maybe, maybe not. That's pretty interesting to discuss. Second thing is they have an ugly balance sheet, like a ugly balance sheet. $250 million in cash, $1 billion in debt. And they just recently got to $250 million. I think they were around the $50 million mark. They issued 200 million or 12% more shares recently, which completely dilutes shareholder value. So I don't like that. So ugly balance sheet, and then they're using equity to fund their growth. which just it's a kick in the balls for shareholders, really. Third thing, I believe paying down debt is a priority for this company, yet the company is still offering a dividend. And when you think about dividends, mature companies usually offer dividends, not growth companies. And this company is trying to play two roles when it can't even really play one role correctly. It's trying to be mature and grow at the same time. I think you should just cancel the dividend. Like, why are you even paying a dividend? Focus on paying down debt and growing. So I really don't understand why they pay a dividend when they're supposed to be like a kind of like a growth company over the next 5 years. And lastly, last point is there were some questions in the investor presentation on like, hey, how are you going to increase margins? We're seeing earnings drop, year over year. What are you going to do? How is zero emissions going to, increase margins? And there was a lot of discussion from the CEO, but there's just a lot of noise. I didn't hear one thing that I thought like, wow, that's a great opportunity for them to increase margins. So I don't know how earnings are going to increase. They're issuing more shares. So I mean, this is not my cup of tea. I actually think this is like a very poorly managed company. But that's just my thoughts. So as you know by now, I am definitely not buying shares of NFI. I just think it's a very poorly managed company, and it's not my cup of tea. But let me know in the comments below why you're bullish, or maybe just like me, you're bearish on NFI Group. I'd appreciate hearing them. And if you got value out of this video, like I said in the video like a couple times already, subscribe, share it with a friend, like the video, and I appreciate all your support. And don't worry, I'm gonna get to banging out these videos every week. I've been slacking for the last couple of weeks, but don't worry, I'm back. All right, anyways, see you guys. Bye.